So I'd like to share a little story with you. It's a story about my relationship with my mother. I hope that this little story will kind of pull some of the pieces of the puzzle together and help you think through this concept of change. My mother was a wonderful woman. I wish everyone had a mother like mine, or our world would be a much better place if everyone had a mother like I did. She's a very loving, nurturing person, and she really prided herself on teaching her children responsibility. As a young child, that meant I had to clean my room. And I didn't want to clean my room. My mother would come to me and say, "Larry, go clean your room, please," and I would ignore her. Now, if you'll picture her right here in the center of this balanced place, feeling good about herself, teaching her son responsibility. When I would ignore her, it would push her towards the edge and make her feel inept, like she didn't count. She didn't like that feeling, so she'd come back and push me. She'd say something like this, "Larry, I told you to get your room clean. Now I mean it. Go get it done." I would still ignore her. That would push her further to the edge, and she'd come back much stronger. "What is the problem? I told you twice to get that room clean. Now you get in there and get it done right now. I mean it." I would still ignore her. That would push her clear to the edge. She wasn't going to go over the edge. She was a very strong woman, and she'd come back very strong and push me very hard to get me to do what she wanted me to do. It would sound something like this: "You get in that room right now, young man. I am not going to tell you again. You move it. I mean it now." And I'd go clean my room. Now there's a purpose to this little story. I want you to think this through for a minute. What is it that moved me to go clean my room? Yes, obviously she was upset with me. She was angry. But why did anger move me to go clean my room? Let me suggest something and see if this makes sense to you. See, I was very, very close to her. Her hugs and kisses made my world perfect. And she'd take that sweet, loving, caring feeling away from me, and it would hurt. Now, it was not a physical pain, it was an emotional pain. But it was a painful experience. Now, compared to cleaning my room, I could do that level of pain. Didn't want to clean my room. So then she took some more of that loving, caring feeling away, and it made it hurt worse. Now I could still do that level of pain, but just barely, because it was really starting to hurt a lot. Then she would take some more of it away, and I was done for. I just couldn't bear the stress. Taking away the intimacy from the relationship is how we push somebody over the edge. It's how we make them do what we want them to do. It's powerful and it's strong, and it derives from being able to take intimacy away from the relationship. We do it in different ways, but it's very effective, and it hurts. Now, when I was a little child, I couldn't bear that hurt. But as I got a little older, maybe around 13 years old, I was becoming quite independent. My mother could still make me clean my room, but it was hard. I was learning how to feel my feet, my balance, me in control, and she couldn't make me feel that awful feeling so much as when I was little. Now, a few years later, I was 18. Oh, I was becoming very powerful. She'd try to take that sweet, loving, caring feeling away from me to make it hurt. Well, it wasn't very effective because I didn't need her as much as I did when I was a little boy. If she'd try to make it feel bad, I'd go call my girlfriend or I'd go see my buddies. They made me feel wonderful. They lifted my heart, made me feel great. They thought I was wonderful. She couldn't take the intimacy away and make it hurt like she could when I was little. And she didn't have the power to make me do what she wanted me to do. That's when the dynamic changed and started going this direction. In order for it to go this direction, the fighting must stop. Who's going to win, who's going to lose, that has to stop, because when you trigger the other person's defenses, we immediately go to this level, and nothing's going to change until one person's powerful enough to push the other person over the edge. When I was little, my mother could push me over the edge, but when I was 18, she couldn't. Now, she could throw me out of the house. I was 18 years old, but I knew my mother. She would have been worried sick, and I knew that, and she knew that, and that made me more powerful than she was. And she really couldn't make me clean my room. When the dynamic started going this direction, the fighting first had to stop. And when the fighting stopped, that allowed my mind to open up and begin to see things that I couldn't see before. I began to see that she was cleaning my room for me. Now, why couldn't I see that before? It was obvious. How did the clean underwear get in the drawer? Who made that bed? It wasn't me. I couldn't see it because if I would have seen it, it would have made me vulnerable. When we're in the pushing, blocking kind of process, we don't allow anything to make us vulnerable. If you allow any kind of vulnerable thought into your mind, people seem to be able to detect that in intimate relationships, and they use that to manipulate us. From the time I was very little, I learned to not allow myself to see things that would make me vulnerable. I learned to push them away from my mind and my awareness. Now, when I was 18 and my mother stopped trying to make me clean my room, our relationship began to relax, and I began to see things that I couldn't see before. I became aware of it. This wonderful, awful feeling swept over me. Wonderful because I realized how much she loved me, and all she wanted from me was for me to grow up and become a responsible adult. Awful because I realized what a jerk I was to my mother, and I felt bad about it. That moving feeling in my heart is called compassion. It moved me to change my behavior, my attitude, my point of view, not because she made me, but because of this loving, caring feeling in my heart. Change always happens up here because I care about you and I love you, because you're important to me. It stopped working at this level. She couldn't make me do it, and so we had to go this direction for change to happen.